Mr. Gingray. Mr. Braley for an opening statement, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is indeed a very important hearing, and I'll submit my formal remarks for the record and speak extemporaneously. This hearing shows what happens when political chants of drill baby drill evolve into the tragic reality of spill baby spill. And for all of my colleagues on the other side who wish that there were representatives of the administration here today, I would remind them that there was a joint congressional briefing held on May 4th where representatives from Interior, Homeland Security, Coast Guard, Commerce, EPA, Minerals Management Services, NOAA, and the National Ocean Services did appear, gave us extensive briefings, and were there to answer questions to every member of Congress who chose to show up at that hearing. But probably one of the most profound statements made at that briefing was by Commandant Admiral Thad Allen from the Coast Guard, who gave a tremendous overview of what was going on as part of the federal government's response. And he made this statement in describing what's happening. This is closer to Apollo 13 than to the Exxon Valdez. And Mr. Chairman, I think that the fundamental issue of this hearing should be to try to figure out why that's the case. Because Apollo 13 happened 40 years ago, 240,000 miles away from the Earth, with limited resources to try to solve the disaster that was occurring on that mission. That was 10 years into the manned space program. And Mr. Chairman Waxman, the first submerged oil wells in salt water were drilled under the Santa Barbara Channel in California in 1896. So why is this more like Apollo 13 than the Exxon Valdez? Why were we not better prepared to deal with the enormous environmental and safety risk caused by this massive explosion? Secretary Salazar said at that briefing, this was supposed to be a fail-safe system. Obviously, it was not. And the question for all of us is, why not? So as we listen to the witnesses and hear the latest information they have to share with us, these are the questions I want answers to. How did this happen? Why did this happen? Who is responsible? Most importantly, what have we learned? What are we, Congress, going to do, and what are we prepared to do to ensure this never happens again? And finally, who will bear the cost? Because despite the assurances we received at that briefing from Secretary Salazar and others, that BP has made repeated assurances to stand the full cost of this recovery, some of the actions that are taking place in response to this catastrophe would give us the indication otherwise. And that's why, as we look at these serious issues, I look forward to the testimony of our witnesses and answering those questions, and I yield back the balance of my time.